This morning I'm with Mark Godden at Deepdale Nurseries. It's a nursery I've been using for 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah, something
maybe?
like that, 20,
something
25
like that.
years.
And you supply most of my big trees for my gardens.
Yeah.
Mark, you are co-owner of this nursery.
Indeed.
And you employ 33 people here?
Yeah, currently 33, but we're always looking for more, so if you know anyone, let me know.
And a massive turnover of trees. How
Yeah.
many of trees have you got here? And these are splendid trees.
I think in stock at any one time we have about 150,000 trees or something like that, but yeah, turnover last year was around about £11 million, so yeah, everything's going really well.
Very big, very impressive. So I'm really excited to be announcing the new membership. So people who join our YouTube club can get your trees at wholesale rates, and we'll give them an email address and they'll contact them if they want any real fabulous trees.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is a lovely hornbeam arch. So you can imagine this is, well, where do you think this is likely to go?
I think, well, this would look fantastic framing any view in a garden, wouldn't it? Or
Yeah.
perhaps maybe in like a big line of them, you can put 5 or 6 together to create a kind of viaduct.
Colonnade,
Yeah,
or
colonnade.
viaduct.
Exactly,
Yeah, that would
yeah.
be really nice. And you supply many prestigious jobs. You must supply most of the trees at Chelsea Flower Show.
Chelsea Gardens, we do an awful lot, yes, and some big projects in and around the country as well. Battersea Power Station recently was a big one for us, or
Yeah.
the redevelopment down at King's Cross, for example, that was a big project for us recently as well.
And obviously loads of private gardens,
Lots
some of
and
them
lots,
piddly gardens, some of them massive gardens for many of my clients. So show us what is on trend at the moment.
Okay, well, we've got pines, I think, is one of the things, so should we go and have a look at that?
Yeah. How did you grow this, Mark?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, this is a little bit fortuitous. So
Yeah.
it's a tree that started in the field and fell over a little bit, but we decided to leave it and carry on sculpting it. This is something that's really popular at the moment. People are really looking for this naturalistic character, something that, you know, looks like it's been there with the garden the whole time. So yeah, this is something that's really on trend, I would say.
And how old would you say this is?
This tree is around about 40 years old.
40
So this is
years.
Pinus mugo, which is a dwarf pine, or a very slow growing small pine. So
Yeah.
this is around 40 years old.
So when you see mugos just grow naturally,
Yeah.
they tend to be quite globular in shape. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or is it just that you've clipped them into balls?
There's a few different cultivars that you
Yeah.
see. So there are some that are smaller and a bit more globular, and some that the more native ones that grow up and open up a little bit over time. But they're all relatively small pines when you compare it with a Pinus nigra or a Scots pine or something like that. So,
Right, right. And what would its maximum height be? Because I've noticed people love Pinus mugo.
I think these ones will grow to around about 5 metres maximum, something like that. But
5
you can
metres.
also get cultivars that stay, you know, less than a metre high.
And you can do any amount of shaping and clipping.
Absolutely, they prune really well. You know,
Yeah.
even cloud pruning or just this more naturalistic pruning.
Fabulous.
Or sometimes we lift them up to make these umbrella form multi-stems as well.
Oh, they're lovely, aren't
yeah.
they? Yes. And here is another, well, this is one of my favourites. I love these.
Yeah, this is Filaria, so it's another evergreen tree.
Filaria angustifolia.
Angustifolia, this one,
Slightly
yeah.
lighter leaf.
Yeah, a little bit more delicate leaf, yeah.
And it is the green olive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very good in coastal locations, you tell me?
Very good on the coast, yeah. Quite wind tolerant, salt tolerant, also a little bit drought tolerant as well.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, again, something that you can sculpt these really lovely forms. It's evergreen, it's got a little white flower or creamy white flower in the spring. Very nice plant.
Yeah, and very hardy. People used to think they weren't, but they were around in Victorian times, and then they went.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it
don't
was
know why.
something that was planted, you know, back in the days quite regularly, but then sort of people stopped planting it for some reason. I really
Yeah.
don't know why, but yeah, a very tough plant actually, much more tolerant than people give it credit for.
And you've stripped all these stems down.
Exactly,
obviously, to
just-
make this form.
Exactly, just to show the stems off, and it allows you to underplant or maybe uplight it or something like that. So.
Yeah, underplanting, uplighting, yeah, essentials in many gardens nowadays. Screening is a big thing.
Screening, yeah,
Show
absolutely.
me some of your wonderful screening trees.
Yeah, no way. Let's have a look.
I've always been very sceptical of these trees, Lagerstromia. I've seen them on your lists for years.
Yeah.
I've always thought they're really tender, but they're not. I'm wrong.
No, I think tenderness is not a problem. They're very hardy here.
Yes.
This is Lagerstromia indica dynamite, which is a sort of red flowering one. Very
Yeah.
hardy, but it's more about the flower. So usually we don't get a lot of flower because we don't have, I think, the long enough, hot enough summers. But recently that's starting to change, so we're really seeing a lot of flower on the nursery, especially this year. It's been very, very floriferous.
I see you've got quite a few of them looking really nice, and these are just opening up, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So other things like pistachio.
Pistachio.
You're now selling pistachios.
We sell a lot of pistachio, particularly into London gardens. I mean, that's something that we do struggle with when it gets very cold.
Yes.
I think a few years ago we had -15 on the nursery, and we did have a lot of damage in the pistachio.
But in London, that's London hardy.
For London
really.
gardens, yeah, I think it's not a problem. Here it's a little bit more open, a little bit more exposed.
Right. And the thing with Lagerström is you have a hot summer, it ripens the wood,
Yeah.
which flowers on the new growth.
Absolutely.
And so then you get the flowers.
Then you
if
get
we
the
had a
flower.
rubbish summer,
Yeah. You don't
you
have
probably
enough.
miss out on the flowers.
Exactly.
But it's a nice tree anyway.
The
would you
bark
say?
is amazing. The bark is amazing. I think I would buy it alone. It's not. Oh, these are a bit younger, so
I was gonna
it's
say.
not really developed yet. But you do, this bark develops and is absolutely amazing. So
Oh, it's like a plane.
a little
or-
bit like a London plane, yeah.
I
So
didn't
yeah, I would buy
realise
it just
that.
for that, to be honest with
Yeah. The other ones that seem to be coming in are, well, persimmon.
you. Yes.
Do you grow many persimmons here?
Not many, but again, that's something you see our range changing a little bit, you know, with
Yeah.
slightly more, let's say, climate tolerant trees making their way into our range. And persimmon is certainly one that we're starting to see a lot more requests for. So I'm sure it will become a more regular part of our stock over the years.
I mean, there's one in Stamford, much more north of you, and it
Yes.
has wonderful fruits, and
Yeah.
it must be 100 years old. It's a
Okay.
wonderful tree. So I've got one, and mine's fruiting well this year.
Oh, brilliant, yeah.
And it's about the size of you, but it's been in a long time, but I grew it from small.
Yeah.
The other tree that suddenly you see at the flower shows
Yes.
at Hampton Court in full flower, sometimes even at Chelsea,
Yeah.
Heptacodium.
Heptacodium myconoides, yeah.
Now, why has that suddenly come in? Is it you? Have you imported a load and you've pushed them on these exhibitors?
No, I think it's something that we've been growing for a long time, but I think it really came to the forefront with the September Chelsea a few years ago. After COVID, and Chelsea then moved to September.
Yes.
And that year, the heptacodiums, they do flower a bit later, and they were basically flowering right at the right moment for the Chelsea Flower Show. So suddenly you
see.
saw a lot of heptacodium in these Chelsea gardens, and I think people have picked up on that now, and yeah, it sort of brought it a little bit more to the forefront, basically.
But I've seen some flower in Hampton Court as well in July.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I mean,
does it have a long flowering period,
there's a
or
very
was
long
it the season?
It has a very long flowering period. Generally, it's a bit later than July, I would say. Sort of, yeah, maybe
They
sort
probably
of.
forced it
Yeah,
a bit.
potentially, yeah. So
Yeah.
normally more August, September, something like that is normally the flowering time.
Oh,
But
right.
it's very long. You know, you've got these beautiful white flowers in groups of 7, and then once the flower's gone, it leaves that red sepal, which is really beautiful as well.
And
Of
it
course,
is-
the bark as well is lovely. Yeah,
Oh, right. And so it is totally hardy.
very hardy. Yes, yeah.
And why had we never heard of it before? It's not difficult to grow?
Not difficult to grow. No, I just think, like I say, it is something that has been grown, but yeah, I think just with Chelsea,
Interesting.
it just suddenly brought it to the forefront.
Interesting. So let's see some screening trees, because
Okay.
everyone's always wanting privacy, shelter from the neighbours.
Absolutely,
So you must have that in spades.
definitely. Let's go and have a look.
Everyone's saying we're getting an early autumn. Would you agree? Because of the dry summer, it's
Yeah.
making everything turn. There's a leaf falling on
Blowing
you.
around, and yeah. No, absolutely. We've had already for a few weeks now, so lots of autumn colour on the nursery.
And that's unusual this early, isn't it?
A little bit
In
unusual.
mid-September.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what about this one? This is a lovely screening panel. Liquidambar styraciflua.
Yeah, absolutely.
And-
Liquidambar styraciflua as a panel, what we call an espalier or pleached panel,
Yes.
which is perfect for screening in the garden without taking up too much space, obviously, because it's quite narrow.
And then to prune it, you would just literally with hedge cutters, would you, in spring?
Yeah, we prune it. It's actually quite strong going, so if you want to keep it really tight, you might actually need to prune it twice a year, I would say.
Right.
But yeah, literally with a hedge cutter, I would just run it down the face of it and keep it to the width you want, really.
And liquidambar, again, it's not soil specific, is it? Doesn't mind what acidity the soil has.
No, it's a very tolerant tree. I mean, I think it would prefer if a slightly acidic soil, but it's very tolerant of almost all soils.
Yeah.
Actually, it's again one of the trees that's come to the forefront as what we're calling sort of climate resilient trees.
Is it?
It's very tolerant of drought, and it's also quite tolerant of having its feet a little bit wet, so if you have short periods of flooding in the winter, it's also tolerant of that.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay. And how old is this? I'm just looking at its trunk, and its trunk is about 50 centimetres diameter.
Yeah.
Would you say?
I think age-wise, I mean, this, because it's trained and pruned, they do tend to girth up a little bit slower, but this would be about a 12-year-old tree, something like that, roughly.
Right, right. So that's a lot of time you've taken to train this.
Yes.
But it's wonderful, isn't it? Really nice. I mean, you wouldn't have many neighbours taller than that, hopefully.
No, definitely not. And the nice thing about Liquidambar is it does tend to hold the leaf quite a long time.
Oh,
so
does it?
sometimes even at Christmas you'll see some leaves still on there, and then it's
Right.
relatively early back into leaf as well. So really is a nice screening plant.
And even when it wasn't in leaf, you've got quite a twiggy network.
Yeah,
haven't
you've
you?
got quite a twiggy branch structure, and you know, with the pruning that brings extra density. So even once the leaf is gone,
Yeah.
you don't really see much through it.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. Show me some more.
Okay.
Oh, this really is tree porn, isn't it? These are amazing. These lovely big yew trees. How old?
This is something like 35 years, 40 years old, something like that. So very, very old plants. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing. And explain to us why you're wrapping the trunks with the hessian.
Okay, so these plants have recently been pruned.
Yes.
They were lifted from plants that were a little bit fuller to the ground,
So they were just bushes.
like a clipped beehive, we would call it. So
Right, okay.
and now the branches have been lifted up, and so we wrap the stems for two reasons. Firstly, to protect the stem a little bit from the sun. Obviously, they've lived quite a long time in full shade. Now being exposed to the sun, you're at risk of getting sunburn on the stem. So we wrap the stems for that.
Yeah.
And also it stops a little bit. You might see here the suckers coming through. Actually, obviously, when you prune these things, then you do get a lot of suckering, so that keeping the light away then reduces that suckering as well.
I see. And you also see people doing that with olive trees. They wrap the stems in
Yep.
winter. Now, does that really help protect them in the winter? I thought it was all the roots.
I don't think wrapping the stem does an awful amount, but yeah, I think it's no harm. Let's say it's
No harm. Okay, okay. So the reason I've always bought my big trees from you generally is because they just establish so well. And the reason is in the growing of them, obviously. So your big trees, not only do you undercut them regularly,
Yes.
just explain why you do that.
The trees all start their life in the field, so growing in the ground. So obviously when
Yeah.
they're in the ground, the roots are spreading out. You need to be able to control that root so that when we deliver it to you, that root's compacted into a small enough space that we can get enough to send you to make the tree viable, basically. So we're regularly undercutting these trees in order to, contain this root in a relatively small space.
And that's done with a tractor with a big blade that just goes underneath. At what sort? Well, at a depth, this sort of, depending on the tree.
Depending on the tree, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's done in different ways. It can be done like that, or actually physically just with a tree spade, taking a whole root ball basically and physically moving the tree to another location in order to
Oh,
cut the
you would
roots as
still
well.
call that undercutting?
Yeah, we call that undercutting or transplanting basically is what we
Transplanting,
call
I was
it.
going
yeah.
to say, yeah, that is amazing watching that process,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. And then when you've done that, then when I was going to buy one from the field
Yeah.
and you were going to put it into an airpot, so
Yeah.
explain why you do this.
So we put the trees into the airpots for two reasons. I mean, one is so that they can be available all year round. Field-grown trees can only be delivered normally between November and March, whereas trees established in airpots can be delivered all year round,
So Jack
365
Smith
days a
could
year.
see this and buy it and have it in mid-July.
Absolutely.
You could pop it in and there we are.
Absolutely.
Right.
The other thing with having a tree in an airpot container is that you get all the root delivered, and also this airpot system develops a really nice fibrous root system. It prevents root spiralling, and it
So it's the oxygen coming through these little holes that stops the roots spiralling round and round, which everybody sees in plant pots.
absolutely, yeah. So the texture of the material, basically, as the roots hit the edge of the material, rather than being deflected round and round, they're directed into the air holes, and the contact with the air essentially stops the root. So you've got,
I see.
and that develops more and more root as well. So you've got lots and lots of root, all radially facing, all ready to go once you put it in the ground.
So the tree spade or whatever puts it on the ground with
Yeah.
no airpot round
Yeah.
it. You've just got a ball shape,
Exactly.
which you then wrap with hessian and wire.
Yeah, you lift the tree out of the field, wrap it in hessian wire, bring it to the container unit, we put it on the ground, wrap the airpot around, leaving a gap all the way around the outside, and that gap's filled with compost basically. And
Right.
then it takes, depending on the plant, it can take kind of 3 to 6 months or something like that to root through. and once it's rooted through, it's ready to go out to the customer.
Right, I see. And that's why we have very little mistakes. Now, on the nursery, or very little problems and fatalities at all. So on the nursery, you're giving this a drip system.
Yes.
And so you're watering it daily.
Watering it daily,
When
yeah.
I put my hand in my back pocket and I bought this,
Yes.
and I put it into the garden, I wouldn't water it every day, would I? Because I then want the roots to go into the ground. So for the first year,
Yeah.
I'll be giving it water once a week in dry periods, would you say?
Normally once a week. I mean, there can be very dry periods where you have to water a little bit more frequently, but
Yeah.
we always recommend that you water a lot and less often, let's say, so that the water can get deep into the soil, and you also challenge the tree to go and look for the water and push its roots out.
Push it out and down.
Exactly.
Is
yeah.
that right? Okay. And the other thing is, you know, historically in gardening books, they told you if you're planting a tree this size, you're doing a massive great pit and backfill with compost.
Yeah.
But now we all think that's different, don't we? And
Yeah.
we just take the hole out the size of the tree
Yeah.
and put it in that, so that the tree is encouraged into the normal surrounding soil. It doesn't stay in your little compost pocket.
Yeah, exactly. What you don't want to do is introduce organic matter deep into the soil, and
Yes,
you
that
want
would just go anaerobic.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
go rotty.
So
yes.
we recommend square holes, yeah, just a little bit bigger than the root ball, because obviously you need to be able to work around it, but yeah, not to dig an enormous hole.
Yeah.
And then backfill the soil as it comes out, essentially.
And I always find when you're actually lifting them into the hole, it's facing them. Obviously with this one it's pretty uniform on every side,
Yeah.
but with something like our friend over there, you might want to face it, so with the most prominent view you've got the best side of the tree.
Yeah, all trees have a face side, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of time to adjust it in the hole and get it facing the right way. Sometimes you need a flat side to go against the wall, or
Yeah.
maybe it's nice to have a branch that arches out over something. So yeah, a little bit of time to face it up is always well spent.
There's nothing worse than the next morning coming down and thinking, why didn't we turn it 180 degrees? And you sort of put all the soil back and everything. Okay, these are beauties. I'm falling in love with these. We're looking for some pleached trees,
Okay.
are we now?
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
To screen. People always want something with a long season of appeal, and this is one of them, isn't it? Cornus Cousa and Cornelian cherry.
Cornus
Is that right?
Cousa, I always call it Japanese dogwood actually. Cornus mass, I think, is Cornelian cherry.
Oh,
yeah.
right,
So-
okay. Yeah, and it's got these edible fruits, which are so pretty, aren't they? They look like earrings, edible earrings.
Edible.
And they have a beautiful flower, obviously in spring, attractive bark, autumn colour,
Yep.
but they don't like alkaline soil.
No, don't like alkaline soil, and they don't like to be too exposed in terms of sun, really.
Right.
We do sometimes have problems where they're too exposed, they sort of burn a little bit in the sun, so you want a little bit of dappled shade, I would say.
These do look a wee bit windburned,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
That's right. But they are beautiful trees. People always talking about these on Gardeners Question Time. And that's Amelanchier next to us.
Yeah,
that-
Amelanchier lamarcki,
And
again.
that's another one, isn't it, with people love because of the long season.
In spring it's covered in like a cloud of, small white flowers, so that's beautiful. You then got this lovely green leaf which goes red in the autumn, or red and orange in autumn. Edible berries on there as well. And I think one of the main things is the kind of architectural interest of the stems. People like to prune them up. They create really, really lovely forms, I would say.
And I didn't realise that this is Lamarckia, Amelanchier Lamarckia,
Yes,
presumably.
absolutely, yeah.
I didn't realise that this form had edible berries. I know there is a form that you grow for the fruit.
Yeah, no, I think the fruits are absolutely delicious. So
Right, yeah,
you don't
yeah.
get them very often. The birds quite often have them before you get there. But...
Ah, right. I've got mine in my fruit cage, or my cage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
Okay.
they're much smaller yet. But yes. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Now for the pleached trees.
Pleached trees.
I love
Look into it.
pollarded willows. Ever
Yes.
since we did the Wind in the Willows garden at Chelsea, we
Oh,
used
yes.
a hollow pollarded willow and we made a little house in the trunk. Very corny. But they really do give that flavour of the riverside, don't
Absolutely,
they?
yeah.
Beautiful. And traditionally they were used, weren't they, with grazing cattle. So you could
Yeah.
graze the water meadows and then you could use these as rods for thatching.
Absolutely.
So you had dual use. Wonderful. And how long has this guy taken to become of this size?
This is a willow's quite fast growing, so this is about a 12-year-old tree, something like that, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we would have started pollarding it when it was probably 3 or 4 years old. So yeah, there's about 8 years of pruning in there as well.
Right, so you took up the stems to the height, chopped it off at the top,
Absolutely.
and then out it comes.
Out it
And
comes,
then
yeah.
you'll do that every other year.
We normally do it.
Maintain that.
Yeah, we normally do it every other year so that we've got a chance to sell it while it's still got some branches on, because yeah, it's more difficult to sell when it's pruned back to clients, I would say.
Yeah, it just looks like a bit of wood
Yeah.
with a knuckle on the top. No, they're wonderful. I love them, and they are amazingly tolerant of dry soil, I always think.
Yeah.
People always associate them with wet, which is fine.
Yes.
But we've used them on sort of rubble reclaimed sites and things, not pollarded,
No.
but ordinary willow.
Yeah,
They'll grow
absolutely.
anywhere, it seems, in hardcore.
Very easy plant to grow, so
Yeah.
you can't go wrong really.
Lovely, thank you. So you do sell, obviously, very fast growing, non-native conifers,
Yes.
which I spend my life cutting down. But there is a demand, people want screening.
There's a big demand. I mean, ultimately, people don't like their neighbours that much, unfortunately, and people don't, a lot of our clients don't want to see them.
Yes.
And when you get above a certain height, once you get above 5-6 metres and you still want to have screening trees, with these, this is Thuja occidentalis, this is possible. You can have trees up to 10-12 metres high.
Right, you would buy them if I wanted that.
Absolutely, that's possible, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, screening above a certain level, you don't have much other choice, I would say, if you want evergreen.
Right.
And at this sort of size, it's very cost effective.
Yes. So Thuja baccata and Thuja occidentalis, which
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
you tell me, I didn't realise this, that they will grow back from dead wood. So if my hedge is becoming too fat
Yeah.
for the space, I could come in and cut it back to dead wood,
Yeah.
and it would resprout.
It will come back from old wood, so that's why we always recommend it as as a better alternative to Leylandi, basically. Because,
Or Lawson cypress.
Or Lawson cypress, exactly.
Which are the commonest used ones, aren't they?
You can prune it back a bit harder. Or it's not quite so aggressive either. So yeah, it's
isn't it?
It's a little bit. I mean, it is still a bit of a brute, but yeah,
Right.
a little bit better than a Leylandi, I would say.
So this is better known as Western Red Cedar, isn't it? And we often specify Western Red Cedar timber
Yes.
because it's a durable timber for outside
Absolutely,
use.
yeah.
But what I didn't realise is that the English grown is no good. It has to be grown abroad.
Oh, is that
apparently,
right?
when
I
you're
didn't
using it
realise
for
that either,
joinery.
Bonnie.
Yeah, I rang up TRADA, Timber Research Association, and
Yeah.
said, "Oh, never touch English grown stuff."
Okay.
I think it grows, the cell size is such that
Yeah.
it's just not durable.
Oh, I didn't
for
realise
some
that.
reason. Yeah, but well, maybe now you told me that you can cut it back, because you haven't cut this for some time.
Yeah.
And it can look quite neat when it's cut, but you would need to cut it 3 times a year to keep it
Yeah, I
looking neat.
think twice a year definitely, maybe 3 times. But I think when you do cut it really tight and you do keep it neat, I mean, to be honest, you can't, from a distance, you can't really see the difference between this and like a taxus hedge or something like that from a
A
distance.
yew hedge. Well,
yeah.
it's a brighter green.
Yeah,
It's definitely a brighter green, isn't it?
a little
Yeah.
bit, but this is the Occidentalis Brabant, then you've got the Plicata as well. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
when you keep it tight, it can look really, really nice.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I won't chop so many. So these are beautiful Carpenter spatulus hornbeam. And hornbeam is probably one of the most common tree for pleaching.
Yeah, absolutely. For pleaching, this is 100% the most popular option.
Yeah.
It's obviously a very tolerant tree, grows in pretty much all soil types, quite easy to establish, prunes really nicely, holds on to the brown leaf as well in the winter, so you've got that extra screening element. So yeah,
So
works
they're
really
sort
well.
of khaki colour in the winter, aren't they? People always say, I want an evergreen. But actually, the khaki leaves with the twiggy network
Yeah.
is pretty good screen, isn't it?
Yeah, when you prune it, it becomes very, very dense and it holds
Yeah.
onto that khaki leaf, like you say. And yeah, it's a really good screen through the winter.
And that thing where they hold their leaves in the winter as a
Absolutely.
young tree,
Yeah.
so if you looked at a mature hornbeam,
Yes.
it would lose its leaves.
Yes.
And you told me the term for that, which I didn't know it had, because beech is the same, isn't
Yeah.
it? A big beech tree has no leaves in winter.
Yeah.
A beech hedge is full of the russeting leaves.
Absolutely.
And you call it?
Marquescence, is it?
Marquescence,
is it
after
name, yeah.
Mark of Deepdale.
Yeah.
But actually, it's been called that forever, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely, yeah.
And why is that?
I don't know where the name comes from, but it's basically a sort of evolutionary trait for trees to discourage grazing in younger plants. So it's a trait that you tend to see in younger growth or younger plants. So obviously when
Right.
you prune a hedge, the
Yeah.
young growth tends to hold onto its leaf. As
Right.
if you just leave a tree and it ages, obviously as it gets older, it loses that characteristic basically.
Right. And the reason that we like these pleached trees is if you've got a town garden or a smaller space If we let this grow and screen, it would take up the whole garden probably.
Absolutely.
Whereas by removing them and keeping them in two planes,
Yeah.
you are containing the foliage extent.
Yeah.
And then you can plant underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically we would see this maybe above a fence or something like that, although people do plant them on their own as well. But typically it's above a fence to give additional screening. So you tend to have a sort of 1.8 or 2 metre stem and then the head on top of that. And obviously, like you say, when you keep them tight, even if it's a small garden, you can add screening but not take away space from the garden. And you can underplant them and uplight them as well.
And I always think it's best to measure exactly what height you need, whether you're growing them yourself or buying them in, because pruning it that height with the hedge cutters, which you'll probably do once, maybe twice a year, you need big ladders. I find it quite a job with mine at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you want to keep it really crisp, you need to prune it twice a year. So it's definitely worth thinking about, you know, exactly what height you need them to be.
Yeah.
And think about the clear stem height as well, because some people want to have above a fence with a gap, and some people want it to sit exactly on the fence. So if you need to know what that stem height needs to be.
Sometimes we just have a metre and I get them to cut them for me to that height if I just want a metre stem, and then the thing, so it's quite flexible, isn't it? You can order them up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And what other trees would you say you pleach them? Is anything that you can clip like a hedge you can make into a pleached tree?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if you can prune it like a hedge, you can make it into a pleached tree. There tends to be, the availability tends to be maybe 6 or 7 different types. So beech, hornbeam, limes is quite popular, planes as well, and then lots of evergreen types like Prunus lusitanica or holly.
I
yew
love the
as well.
pleached yew you've got for me in the past. They're really nice. But I've also seen crab apples pleached.
Crab apples, yeah.
I've
and pears
seen
as well, yeah.
Pears, yes. I've seen, in fact, I must order some pears for you from the autumn, please. Pleached pears.
Okay.
And more unusual ones, sycamore and things, and hawthorn.
Hawthorn, yeah.
It's quite a job to pleach because of the thorns, but the thorns only grow on the second year wood, I think, don't they?
Absolutely,
when I've done that, Yeah, no, they are really good trees, I think, pleached. And then you do the bigger version with the box, so they're like this, but they're
more
in
three-dimensional.
squares,
So
more
I can show you
3D.
that as well. We could, you let it grow in all dimensions, and then we call that a box head.
Boxed head, right. And what about your umbrellas? Have you got any umbrellas? I love your umbrellas.
Yeah, I can show you some rooftop trees. Yeah,
Rooftop trees.
just down here.
Yeah. So, with our increasingly warm summers, these rooftops are becoming very popular, I find. You know, around 4 of them around a table.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is Liquidambar.
This is Liquidambar Warpolston, so a cultivar of Liquidambar with a slightly more deeper cut leaf, basically.
Right.
And a very uniform branch structure.
And you cut them twice a year, probably? Because
Twice
they
a year,
do tend to shoot up from the top.
Yeah,
don't
you
they?
will get quite a lot of growth on the top, but basically the trees have the frame put in the top and trained in, and then we prune them twice a year.
And if you wanted to join those two up and they were further apart, you would just take some canes across between the two and pull the branches along, and it would probably take you 6 months in the growing season and you'd do it.
Yeah,
you?
they're very, very fast growing, so I think generally people will plant these a little bit wider than this. Like you say, use some bamboo to create a little frame to pull the branches over, and I think within 2 seasons, when they're sort of 2.5, 3 metres apart, you can join them up.
Yeah. And what other ones have you got in the umbrella? 2 tabletop, sorry.
Tabletop, typically mulberry, the fruitless mulberry is very popular. London planes are very popular for that sort of French feeling.
Yes, and the lovely trunks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, things like crab apples and Pyrus chanticleer, also limes as well.
Irish chanticleer keep their leaves very well. Don't
Absolutely,
they?
yeah.
And limes, but wouldn't you get all the honeydew dripping onto the table?
You do, but yeah, it's a very popular option. I think again because it's quite typical of France, basically, London planes and limes, so people tend to like those things.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Let's go look at your cloud prune stuff.
Oh yeah.
So if I planted a little hydrangea limelight, it's paniculata limelight.
Paniculata limelight, yeah.
In my garden, a little sort of 3-litre one from the garden centre.
Yeah.
How long will it take me to get to this beauty here?
They're relatively fast growing, so I think this is probably about 12 years from that, something like that, roughly.
That's
I would
quite
say.
some time.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yes. And this limelight's taken the nursery trade by storm, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the last 10 years.
It's our most
Because-
popular hydrangea by a long way, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
that, why is that?
I honestly don't know, Bunny. I mean, you probably know better. It's like that's what the designers they're working with are looking for. I guess I really don't know why.
They're easy to prune, aren't they? Because
that's
they
probably it,
grow on new wood. They flower on new wood.
Yeah, you can prune them.
So you can take them down to the ground. Not that you would take something like this down to the ground. Oh, right. Oh, they are wonderful, aren't they? They look wonderful in this big row of them.
Yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful plants.
Oh, this is a magnificent yew.
Amazing, it's absolutely amazing.
Taxus cuspidata,
Taxus
the
cuspidata,
Japanese yew.
absolutely. And this is a Japanese import plant. So this was imported from Japan via Europe, basically.
Right, and they did all the shaping.
All the
this wasn't
shaping, yeah.
you.
No, I
Yeah.
can't take any credit for this. It's obviously, yeah, a little bit beyond my skill level, but yeah, absolutely beautiful.
And so when we worked in Japan, we brought a lot of plants to Japan from the UK, and we had to wash, every plant had to have its roots totally washed off with all compost.
Okay.
And then they were checked at the port and then repotted. It's real plover, but you didn't have to do any of this.
No, we didn't have to do any of that. But yeah, I know the company in Europe that imports them, they do come in and they go into quarantine for a period where they have to be inspected. They're not allowed to be sold. And then once they're been through their quarantine period, then they can start to move them on. And obviously you have to have a license to do that.
And this is remarkable. And this you'd prune probably once, maybe twice a year, actually. If you spent money on a specimen like this, you would keep it looking perfect. Who do you trust to keep this?
Normally I do this myself, but yeah, I think if you buy something like this, it's actually quite nice to prune it quite a lot. It's a plant that you want to, you know, touch and feel, you know, every day when you go out into the garden and just do a little bit of pruning here and there, basically.
Yeah, a completely different approach to it, isn't it? And then if you've got a mile of hedge to do and you get out your steel cutters and off you go.
No, absolutely. Here you have to have a pair of secateurs or a small pair of scissors, and yeah, be very careful about it, definitely.
Lovely. And then your parrotia, what do you call that? Would you call that cloud
Yeah,
pruned?
we would call that cow pruned as well. I mean, that's something that we've done here. That it needs a little bit of a prune now, but yeah, then it's obviously bigger clouds, a much faster growing tree. Here you would need to prune this, you know, more with a pair of shears or a hedge cutter, and you'd need to do that maybe 3 times a year because they grow quite vigorously.
Yes.
But still very interesting. You know, you've got this curved stem and the individual clouds.
Did you grow that here? Or was
We
it
grew that here,
you grew
yeah,
it here?
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then I love just your pines here. They're really nice, aren't
Yeah,
they?
that's a very popular plant right now. That's Pinus sylvestris wateri. Lovely blue colour, lovely sort of reddy, coppery stems.
Yes.
Architecture interest, and they do very well in exposed conditions, so we sell them very strongly at the moment for roof gardens and podium gardens and things like that.
Oh, right, okay. And they don't mind the wind, they don't mind drought.
Don't mind that.
And what are they like in flooding and wet?
Yeah, that's something that you would want to avoid with them. Yeah, they much prefer to be on the drier side. They really hate to sit wet.
So if I had a wet garden and I was in love with these, I would plant them on a mound.
Yeah, lift them
Or
up,
just
plant
lift
them
them up.
high.
6 inches above, maybe have this 6 inches out of the ground.
Absolutely,
almost.
yeah, and maybe introduce some positive drainage or some gravel or something to try and get the water away.
And then it would probably work.
Yeah, then
wouldn't
it can work.
And what about the, is it the stone pine, Pinus pinea, which you grow for pine nuts?
Yes.
Do you have those? Because a lot of people love those too, don't
That's traditionally something that we would import for clients from Italy or Spain or something like that. Unfortunately, because of regulations around pine processionary moth, that's very difficult now, almost impossible.
Oh,
so
right.
that's something that we're starting to propagate here ourselves, but it's going to take time for that stock to come through, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Well, it's been fascinating. I love coming down here as ever. Thank you very much indeed. So if people want to subscribe to our membership channel, then they have access to all Mark's lovely plants, and then just press the button to join.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you've got any questions, just drop a comment below.
I've never said that. Well done, Mark. I should have been saying that for the last
100 you definitely got to say that. Have you never watched a YouTube video? What the hell?